Nestled beside a gentle, winding river lies a small village, surrounded by lush forests and rolling hills. Life here moves at a quiet, steady pace, shaped by the rhythms of nature and the close-knit community. Among the villagers lives a woodcutter, known for his tireless work and humble means. Each day he ventures into the woods, relying on his strength and determination to provide for himself. Despite his poverty, he faces each challenge with unwavering resolve and a hopeful spirit. Each morning, the woodcutter sets out for the forest, carrying his sturdy axe and a sense of determination. He spends hours carefully selecting trees, chopping wood, and gathering bundles to take back home. After his work in the forest is done, he loads the firewood onto his cart and travels to the nearby village market. There, he sells the wood to locals, earning just enough to provide for his basic needs. Despite the hard labor and humble earnings, the woodcutter remains dedicated to his simple, honest livelihood. While working by the riverbank, the woodcutter was busy chopping wood when his grip suddenly loosened. In an instant, his axe slipped from his hands and plunged into the deep, swiftly flowing river below. The current was strong, making it impossible for him to see or retrieve the tool. The woodcutter was left standing helplessly, worried and distraught over the loss of his only means of livelihood. The woodcutter stands at the edge of the river, his face clouded with worry. He gazes into the water, searching desperately for his lost axe, but it is nowhere to be seen. Overwhelmed by the loss of his only tool, he feels helpless and begins to cry. The gentle sound of the river contrasts with his sorrow, as he wonders how he will continue his work without the axe. His distress grows, knowing that his livelihood now hangs in the balance. As dusk settles over the landscape, the river suddenly begins to shimmer with an enchanting glow. Light dances across the water's surface, illuminating the surroundings in a gentle, ethereal radiance. From the heart of this glowing stream, a beautiful fairy gracefully emerges, her presence filling the air with wonder and awe. The scene is transformed, as nature itself seems to celebrate this magical arrival. The fairy approached the woodcutter with gentle concern, noticing the sorrow etched on his face. She softly asked why he appeared so troubled in the midst of the peaceful forest. The woodcutter, humbled by her kindness, explained that his only axe had accidentally fallen into the river. Without it, he could no longer earn a living or provide for his family, and this loss weighed heavily on his heart. The fairy gracefully slips beneath the surface of the river, vanishing from sight. Moments later, she emerges, holding a gleaming golden axe in her hands. She approaches the woodcutter and gently asks if this magnificent axe belongs to him. The woodcutter, surprised by the sight of such a precious tool, listens intently to the fairy's question. Her magical presence fills the air with a sense of wonder and anticipation. When presented with the golden axe, the woodcutter does not hesitate to speak the truth. He calmly explains that the shining tool is not his, choosing honesty over the temptation of wealth. His straightforward admission reflects his integrity and strong moral character. This moment reveals the woodcutter's unwavering commitment to honesty, even when faced with a valuable reward. Next, the fairy produces a gleaming silver axe and presents it to the woodcutter. She asks if this beautiful tool belongs to him. The woodcutter, maintaining his honesty, shakes his head and replies that the silver axe is not his. He explains that he does not own such a fine object, remaining truthful despite the tempting offer. The fairy listens carefully to his response, noting his continued sincerity. At last, the fairy emerged from the water holding a plain, well-worn iron axe. The woodcutter's eyes lit up with immediate recognition and relief. This was his own cherished tool, the one he had used for years. Overjoyed, he thanked the fairy sincerely, grateful to have his axe returned. The honest woodcutter's happiness was evident as he embraced the familiar handle once more. The fairy is deeply impressed by the woodcutter's honesty when he refuses to claim the gold and silver axes, admitting that only the iron axe is his. As a reward for his truthfulness, she presents him with all three axes, the gold, the silver, and his original iron axe. This generous gesture highlights the value of integrity and shows that honesty can lead to unexpected rewards. The woodcutter's simple act of truthfulness transforms his fortune, thanks to the fairy's kindness. With the axes safely in hand, the woodcutter's heart swells with gratitude. He can hardly believe his good fortune, feeling a deep sense of happiness as he makes his way home. Each step is lighter than the last, and a smile spreads across his face. The thought of sharing this joyful news with his family fills him with warmth and relief. Word of the woodcutter's unexpected fortune quickly travels through the village. Neighbors whisper excitedly, sharing the story with friends and family. Soon, the tale reaches the marketplace, where merchants and customers alike discuss the woodcutter's newfound wealth. The news stirs curiosity and amazement, prompting villagers to speculate about how his life might change. As the story spreads, it becomes a topic of conversation for everyone, uniting the community in fascination. Not far from the woodcutter's home lived a villager known for his greed and envy. Upon hearing of the woodcutter's unexpected fortune, this villager became consumed with desire to obtain similar riches for himself. He carefully observed the woodcutter's actions, convinced that by copying them, he too would be rewarded. Driven by selfish motives, he set out to follow in the woodcutter's footsteps, hoping that fortune would favor him as well. Driven by his insatiable greed, the man devises a cunning plan. He deliberately tosses his own axe into the river, watching as it disappears beneath the surface. Moments later, he begins to wail loudly, his cries echoing along the riverbank. Though his tears seem genuine, they are nothing more than a clever act to deceive anyone who might be watching. His hope is that his display of sorrow will bring him a greater reward than he truly deserves. The fairy reappeared in a gentle shimmer of light, her presence filling the room with a quiet warmth. She looked at the man with kind, curious eyes, noticing the sorrow etched across his face. With a soft voice, she asked him why he seemed so sad, her concern evident in her tone. The fairy waited patiently, hoping he would share the troubles weighing on his heart. The fairy emerges from the water, holding a gleaming golden axe in her hands. She approaches the greedy man and asks if this magnificent axe belongs to him. Eager to possess such a valuable item, the man quickly and dishonestly claims it as his own. His response is driven by greed, hoping to gain the treasure without considering the consequences of his falsehood. The fairy listens carefully, observing his reaction and intent. The fairy's eyes flashed with disappointment as she realized the man had lied to her. Her voice, once gentle, now carried a sharp edge as she scolded him for his dishonesty. Without another word, she grasped the golden axe and vanished before his eyes. The forest grew silent, leaving the man alone and empty-handed. His greed had cost him everything, and the magical gift was lost forever. The greedy man trudges back to his home, his hopes dashed and his pockets empty. He had expected riches and rewards, but instead he finds himself with nothing to show for his efforts. Disappointment weighs heavily on him, and he realizes that his desire for more has only led to loss. As he enters his house, the silence feels colder, reminding him of the consequences of his greed. The honest woodcutter lived the rest of his days in contentment, grateful for the rewards his integrity had brought him. His story became a reminder to those around him that truthfulness leads to lasting happiness. The lesson was clear. Honesty is always the best policy, even when faced with temptation. Through his actions, the woodcutter showed that doing the right thing brings peace and fulfillment.